All right, you already know how it is with these AMC videos. We got to start off with some good humor because the situation, my friends, we all know what's going on right now. Gotta keep a smile on our face. This was made for me by somebody on Twitter. I put it on Instagram, but it's a picture of me back when I used to run cross country in college. I dyed my hair bleach blonde, dyed my mustache black, running. I had socks on my hands because it was like -5 degrees outside. They're like good hand warmers, you know what I mean? But this is sick. They made this for me for reaching 100K subscribers. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. We're going to get into AMC. So what is up, everybody? Welcome to Trades, where we give technical analysis on different stocks in the stock market, as well as potential buy, hold, or sell opinions on these given stocks. I like to preface by saying that I'm not a financial advisor nor expert, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Let's get into the video. Today, we're going to be giving you guys the update on ticker symbol AMC, AMC Entertainment Holdings, right? So this is a situation that, unless you live under a rock, has been playing out for quite some time. And actually, I've got some good news to bring to you guys today. We actually, as I did think, right, I predicted that we did find a bottom here on the stock, and it does appear that we may have done that, right? We did have SSR in place today, from my understanding, which we'll go over for you if you're not familiar with. That did end up helping the overall situation, but nonetheless, we did have a pretty decent day. So we're going to go over the charts, right? We're going to look at this on the 1 month chart, as well as the 1 day, 1 minute chart to give us an idea of what we might be expecting here, both macroscopically and microscopically. A couple different indicators here, right? We've got the RSI, which is relative strength index, anything over 70 being overbought, anything under 30 being oversold. And then we have the 200 EMA, which is the exponential moving average, the purple trend line down here, and the 15-day MA, which is this blue trend line right here. The 200 EMA is the exponential moving average. This is a price action based valuation trend line over a 200-day moving period, which gives us a macroscopic perspective of price action. And then the 15-day MA is the moving average. Some brokerage accounts call this the SMA, the simple moving average. This is a price action based valuation trend line over a 15-day moving period, which gives us a microscopic perspective of price action. We can use both these indicators to give us an idea of when you might be seeing an upcoming breakout or run. We've got quite a bit of stuff to talk about here. I am still holding my position here in AMC. I'm going to pause the video so I can enter my password without people seeing. All right, so as you can see right here, I have 404 shares at a dollar cost average of what would be $8.86. I am anticipating actually buying more AMC here. I do have some extra dry powder laying around, which I'm going to be putting into this stock to dollar cost average down even a little bit more, especially because I do think we found the bottom here. So I'm still holding this strong. I've got 150 shares over at my Fidelity account. I did have more before. If you're able to keep up with my story, I did have my account liquidated along with many other people for what they claimed were collateral issues, right? But that's not important. We're going to get into the video today here. Got some numbers that I want to show you guys. So we're going to start off by showing you the latest Fintel short interest, right? Take this with a grain of salt because we do know that Fintel has manipulated the numbers here. They have changed them. They claimed it was a mistake, right? But what I find very interesting is the Fintel numbers were cut exactly in half. And if you kept up with any of my previous videos, you know that I've covered Fintel every single day, that I put out an AMC update, right? And they were literally exactly double. So if we come down here and look at the overall short interest, right? Or I shouldn't say the short interest, the short volume ratio, right? It was literally 2 times higher. So this 59.4 million previously was 118 million at 60.46%. They claim that that's not the case anymore, right? They claim that it's getting lower, right? We did have SSR in place today, so I'll be interested to see what the overall short volume did look like. We did have a pretty decent day. It wasn't bad. We didn't get absolutely slam dunked on by LeBron James, so that was good. But the overall numbers today were 20.72 million, 20% short volume ratio apparently, right? And 101.9 million total market volume on the day, which is still a little bit lower than we have seen here. It is decreasing every single day, as we have seen become very apparent. And I never want to BS you guys. I want to keep it real. And right now, we're not going to see this squeeze happen until the volume starts picking up again. Without the volume drives volatility. Volatility is going to drive the higher price valuations, right? Let alone the squeeze. The squeeze won't happen unless people step back into this. So I think people have expectations that this might happen, tomorrow or the next day. When in reality, if we look at GameStop, my friends, I want to show you what GameStop did, right? GameStop was it's my freaking brokerage accounts being all weird. But anyways, I'll show you on the 3 month chart. GameStop was a planned attack by both hedge funds and these Reddit guys, the WSB group, right? GameStop took some time to develop. It took, I would say, 2 or 3 months. So back, quite a while ago, Roaring Kitty decided, hey, I'm going to get into the stock. We see there's a high amount of short interest here. We see it's very heavily attacked, right? It was $10 back here. Very, very slowly, you see it creep up. See it creep up, right? $10. You see it at $17 in December. You see it go up to, actually back down to 12 in about the mid-December, right? Comes up to about 20 at the end of December. comes up to, just a little under that at the beginning of January. Then it starts pushing a little bit, right? We see about a week-long process here where it's kind of floating, right? It's pumped up a little bit. We see the volume starting to jump, but we need this volume that you see down here, and it might take time for this to play out. That's just the absolute truth. It is. And I'm going to tell you why I actually like AMC's setup a little more than GameStop's as we get into the video here. This is probably going to end up being long again. I do apologize, but I want to be as thorough and real as I possibly can. So those are the numbers we have right here. I see people saying all the time, it looks like the short interest is 15%, right? Is that fact? Is that factual? I have Vortex right here. This is a product that I pay about $500 a year to get the most relevant information. And this is reported, right? You can see this right here. This was the report on what would have been the settlement date of 29 January, released on the 9th of February, which was yesterday. What we can see is, according to this source, right, that the short percentage of free float was 12%. I've seen a short percentage of free float of about 15%, right? And if we just Google really quick, what is short interest? We're going to read this off to you. Short interest is the number of shares that have been sold short but have not yet been covered or closed out. Short interest, which can be expressed as a number or percentage, is an indicator of market sentiment. Extremely high short interest shows investors are very pessimistic, potentially over pessimistic, or it's being heavily shorted, right? What I'm looking for down here, what does short interest tell you? Provide insight into the potential direction of an individual stock, as well as how bullish or bearish investors are about the market overall. I typically find that it's usually the highest on stocks that big companies think are going to go bankrupt, right? You do get retail investors that short stocks, but not to the extent where the short interest is going to be 70, 80, 90%. That just doesn't happen, right? That's kind of risky. So a large increase or decrease in a stock's short interest from the previous month could be particularly indicative of sentiment. For example, when the short interest for a stock rises from 10 to 20, it may be a warning sign that sentiment is growing negative on a company. I don't think that's the case for AMC, right? It was previously, but I don't think they're in the financial hardship which they were previously. And we're going to talk about that as well. So take this for what it is, right? According to Vortex, the short percentage of free float is 12.05%. But what I find most interesting here, and I'm just going to refresh this to make sure that all the information is completely up to date, is the utilization right here and the days to cover, as well as the shares on loan. So check this out. Utilization has gone up compared to the last 7 days. It is currently sitting at just under 90%, which is 89.75%. If we check out what utilization is, in case you're not familiar, it's the ratio between the number of shares on loan across all outstanding loans in the wholesale market and the number of shares available for lending at lending programs. 0% means that no shares have been borrowed or lent at these lending programs. 100% means that all shares available to borrow or lend at a lending program have in fact been lent. So that means that there are just over 10% current available shares to short for these big institutional investors, these hedge funds, right? So it's a pretty high utilization rate, which leads me to believe there may be a little bit of misinformation, right? If you look at different sources, you get different numbers in regards to short interest, right? You can look at Market Watch, you can look at Fintel, you can look at Vortex, right? They all tell you different numbers. Market Watch, or Market Beat, I should say. I don't know if Market Beat has even updated their numbers yet. I did check this earlier in the day and did not see anything. And we still have this January 15th report date, price on record date. I am going to be interested to see, and I will point this out, what the price on record date is when this report does come out, as that can be indicative of some upcoming things, right? But we see the overall short volume here is 44.67 million, which when you compare to Vortex is about the same thing. So that might be a pretty validated number. Now this is, that's the settlement, right? That's the short interest that was found on that specific date of 15 January. That's not necessarily saying, hey, this is exactly what the numbers are right now. It's saying this is what the numbers were back then, right? And we can look at the stock, right? And even if Fintel is wrong, or even if it's right, I should say. And this is all the numbers say, right? All the highest we've got is 31%. 31% short interest is still very high, and I still don't think that is that's factual. I think it is a little bit higher than that personally, but take that for what it is. I'm always going to present the information exactly as it is. I don't want to BS you guys. I want to give you the actual factual information. That way we can do the best that we can with what this does say. The put to call ratio has gone down as well. It is 1.67, and that the put coming first, call coming second. This does indicate there are likely more puts than calls on the stock. We can come over here to options and take a quick peek at AMC. Look at both here, the puts and the calls, and just take a quick peek, right? So if we just take a look, we'll look at the calls first and take a peek at what we've got here for 12 February 21. And we can see open interest. We got the highest amount here, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5. And then up here, there's quite a bit. There's a lot here at $9, quite a bit at $10. I think there's quite a bit at $20 as well. 18,469, right? So that's pretty high. Unfortunately, I think these are going to end up expiring worthless. I hate to break it to my friends out there, but this $20 call does not look very promising at the moment. And let's just take a look at the overall puts, right? So what we have for 12 February on puts, if we look at the open interest, right, we see quite a few puts here at the $5 range, 4.5, 4. I think 2 is a little bit steep. I 0.5, that's kind of rough. But you can see there's quite a bit of open interest in these puts, right? So which would lead me to believe that we do have a higher amount of overall puts than calls, that which indicates this 1.67 ratio, meaning that you probably have about 67% more puts than calls. So take that for what it is. I do want to present that information to you. I do have this article pulled up. I did go over this in my live stream, but in case you weren't able to catch it, check this out. It's the GME and AMC short interest data. This further validates the fact that you're going to get different numbers no matter where you look, right? So FINRA, Fintel, and Wall Street Journal are reporting different percentages. FINRA for AMC has 15.7%. Some people actually say that it's not updating for them, and they still see 38.12%. This guy uses Fintel, not FINRA, so please correct him if he's wrong. Short interest does not equal short interest of percentage of float. They are different. Some other posts that recently updated are just showing a percent sign on there and saying it's percent of float. But what we have for Fintel is 68.48%, according to this. And for WSG Wall Street Journal, we have 66.06% short interest percent of float. So you're getting different numbers no matter where you go. This is a big discrepancy, right? This short interest of 15.7 compared to short interest percent of float 68.48 or 66. That's a big difference. That would change the game a lot, right? And I always err on the side of caution and assume the worst, right? Maybe the worst case scenario, the short interest actually is 15%, right? Maybe there is potential that these hedge funds have covered. But then I think about this. You look at the price action, and without a doubt, there are people out there, and I do want to double down on this. If you need to take care of yourself, please, 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 this is not financial advice. You need to feed yourself, keep the roof over your head, the whole 9 yards, right? But we can see the price action, right? We can see how much this has gone down. This does not just happen from retail investors cashing out because they're scared, right? There are going to be those people. I know there's going to get hands that get shaken out of the stock, and it's understandable, right? There are investors out there and traders that got into this simply because of the movement and because of people telling them, hey, you should get into AMC, and they've never traded a stock in their life, right? Which I understand. It's scary. It's a scary thing. And when you're watching all that's happening is lose money, right? You're gonna sell. So there's definitely that happening. But I think more likely and more of what the cause is the stocks just being shorted, right? We can see that. Even if this is just 30% short volume compared to the overall market volume, right? That's to me what's happening right here. You can see this on the RSI, right? Extremely oversold. Volume is really dying down. We did have a nice little push here in the beginning of the day, but it's going to really take the volume pumping back up here in order for this to get moving again. And I'm going to talk about that a little more later. I have a video pulled up by... Let's just pull this up real quick. Financial education that I do want to touch on. But the reason that I think that it's possible we see the short interest is being incorrectly stated is because of this. We've seen it's happened before. This was posted in 2015. FINRA fined Morgan Stanley $2 million for short interest reporting and short sale rule violations at vinra.org. So what we see right here is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority announced today that it has fined Morgan Stanley & Co. LLC $2 million for short interest reporting and short sale rule violations that spanned a period of more than 6 years, and for failing to implement a supervisory system reasonably designed to detect and prevent such violations. So we've seen this has happened in the past. We do know that it is possible, right? I would not put it past these numbers to be incorrect, right? Whether it's inherently or by accident, right? I think it's more inherently, right? A little bit of planning happening, but we do see that has happened, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that be the case. I've got another article pulled up here. This is the overall institutional holdings. I was asked to cover this by a couple different people, and I have another article I'm actually pretty excited to talk about. But if we just look at the overall institutional holdings, right, we can look at the active positions. The increased positions, we have 102 holders worth 10.4 million shares. Decreased positions, this is about 56, and that's 4.69 million shares, right? Held positions, 22. People that haven't messed with their stock, 14.8, which means the total institutional shares is about 29.9 million. Now, if we look at, hold on a sec, let me just pull this up. Okay, so check this out. Now I've got the the overall outstanding shares on AMC, which we see is 216 million in total, right? Now, if we come over here and check out what we have is the total institutional shares of about 30 million. We're just going to round that up to 30 million. That would mean that as of right now, 30 million of the overall outstanding shares are out by institutional holdings, long positions, right? So we're going to take that down to 0.6, 196, 186. So that's 186 million total outstanding shares, right? Well, now we can come back to this, to Ortex, and check this out. Percentage free float on loan, if you're not familiar, it's the percentage of the company's free float that is currently out on loan. We can see right now the percentage on loan is 27.44%. Now, if we just do some quick math, right? We're going to come back here, just do some quick math. We're going to calculate out what this comes to, right? So if we take 216 million total shares, right? And we subtract that 30 million mark, you get 186 million total shares. Now take that times what would that come out to be? We're going to say 63%, right? That is going to be how many total shares are available without retail investors holding. And that is about 117 million. Now, 117 million compared to what we have here as the total outstanding shares, right, of 216 million. We're just going to do some math real quick. Comes out to about 54%. So that comes out to, maybe about 54% of total shares available to trade out in the market without retail investors holding, right? So that leads me to believe that you've got a pretty decently small float available on the stock. I mean, even if you just don't consider the retail investors, right? 54%. I mean, it's okay, right? It's not anything that's going to cause an extreme amount of supply and demand, right? Supply and demand issues. But that is a number to keep in the back of your mind, and why I wanted to show you that number in regards to the active positions that are here on institutional holdings. Now, one other thing I want to show you. This was actually brought to me over the Discord. I was sent a message, asked to look into this article, posted on August 9th, 2013. This is from the National Exam Program Risk Alert. Strengthening practices for preventing and detecting illegal options trading used to reset Reg Show closeout obligations. Page 6 specifically is what I want to look into. So check this out. Option activity related to hard to borrow and or threshold securities. Let's just take a quick read. One strategy that can be designed to take advantage of the potential profit opportunities created by a stock becoming hard to borrow, thereby putting the put-call parity into imbalance, is to initiate a reversal. The activity is most often done by broker-dealers who claim to rely on the exception to the locate requirement for options market makers found in Rule 203. The options market makers claim that they can enter into the short stock position without first locating the shares to borrow because it is a part of bona fide market making activity. Although an options market maker engaged in bona fide market making activity may claim an exception to the locate requirement to comply with Reg Show, the options market maker must still deliver shares in settlement of the short sale. Or if a fail to deliver position results at the clearing firm, the fail to deliver must be closed out in accordance with Rule 204 of Reg Show. It may be a violation of Regulation Show, however, where the options market maker does not deliver shares and instead engages in a second subsequent transaction in order to give the appearance of satisfying the clearing firm's obligation to purchase or borrow the security to close out the resulting settlement fail pursuant to Rule 204 closeout requirements. In addition, where a clearing firm subject to the closeout requirement purchases or borrows securities on the applicable closeout date and on that same date engages in sale transactions that can be used to reestablish or otherwise extend the clearing firm's failed position and for which the clearing firm is unable to demonstrate a legitimate economic purpose, the clearing firm will not be deemed to have satisfied the closeout requirement. So, what is this saying? It's saying that there is a way that these market makers can go around the rules and stipulations to make it look like nothing illegal is happening. I've read a lot about people having failure to deliver, right? Their shares not getting filled. We've had a lot of issues in that realm. This is saying in plain print that there are ways for them to go about sort of dodging the legalities of these failure to delivers, right? The option activity related to hard to borrow and or threshold securities. They can get around that and they can get out of the trouble, right? So we can see plain as day that this is a situation that is possible. We've seen it happen, right? They know it here in this article, right? They're saying it clear as day. The National Exam Program, right? They're saying clear as day exactly what I'm talking about and what you guys have been, keeping in the back of your mind anyways. So I wanted to present this to you as a validation to your thoughts, right? This is just further validation of some of the crookedness that's really happening here. Guys, this is obviously all speculation, right? None of us can prove anything. But what we can do is look at the news articles and the data that are provided directly to us and make sense out of it. And that is what I'm making sense out of, right? one other thing that I have that I watched, and I'm actually really happy to see this. He brings an interesting perspective to the value of the company. Financial Education put out a video regarding AMC stock, and he said that he is all in on AMC. And I'm just going to go over the brief points that he talks about here on this whiteboard and show you some things that I found very interesting. So what I find very interesting is this under $2 billion market cap. He says it can generate anywhere between 100 million and 400 million total sales in revenue, right? They could pull in that much money, 400 million best case scenario. I find that very likely. And I'm glad that he brings this up because I think there's a lot of people out there that are scared that if it doesn't squeeze, they're just going to be out their money. Let me tell you right now, AMC is not going to be out your money. You're going to make it back if this doesn't squeeze. I'm going to continue to hold. In fact, I'll just continue to double down because I think there's a lot of potential here. And let me show you something that tells me why I don't think they're going to go bankrupt, why that's off the table. He's already pointed this out. I've already pointed this out. Company says they raised $917 million last month. And actually, it was more like $700 million, 750, something like that, after, fees and that kind of stuff. But they were able to basically generate enough cash on hand to continue operations for the next year. So that's going to get them through this COVID pandemic, right? This quarantine stuff where the movie theaters aren't really open. And guys, there are places where movie theaters are open again. California, definitely open. He's already said that in his video. More liberal areas where they're more strict on regulations. I know that's not the case, but it's only a matter of time before AMC theaters do open back up again, and there's a lot of potential, not just for that, but for a potential Amazon or Netflix buyout, right? And if that does come to fruition, you are going to be clapping your hands. You're going to be wishing you bought more shares because shareholders receive a stake in a company acquisition. It's part of why I like Microvision so much, which, by the way, went absolutely nuts today. Anyways, Microvision is in buyout talk rumors, right? So if they're bought out, shareholders would receive a stake of about $7 per $1 billion in acquisition. Hypothetically speaking, if they're bought out for $10 billion, shareholders would receive about $70 per share, right? Now, I'm not saying that's how much AMC is going to be bought out for, but I am saying AMC, if it was bought out by Netflix, who is known to be looking into the streaming industry, right, to really capitalize on movies and that sector of the market, guys, that would not surprise me in the least bit. Is that something that's going to happen tomorrow or this next month? Nobody knows, right? I find it unlikely. I think that's something that might take some time to develop. But I think the main reason why I want to bring that up in general is because I think some people are worried that if this doesn't squeeze, which I still think is going to happen, it might take some time. We need to be realistic with our time frames here and come to the realization that right now, as the charts look, right, there's not enough volume. There's not. We need that volume to pick back up. And I'm going to talk about this more later, but as it sits right now, the squeeze is going to take time. GameStop took time to work out, right? I don't think this is a squeeze. I think this is a gamma squeeze, which is just call options compounding on each other, forcing the stock price to go up. I think that there's still a lot of potential here, and I do still think this is a pretty heavily shorted stock because if it wasn't, it would be going up. If it wasn't shorted, everybody buying their positions here would force the stock price up, right? So we know that. It's basic psychology of the charts. You can read it and see the people, what they're doing, right? That's my take. So take that for what it is, right? The squeeze might take some time to develop, and if it doesn't happen, we do know that there is potential with this company to make your money not just back, but multiply it more than you put in, I think, by a pretty significant amount. I could see this stock without any sort of squeeze being a $15, $20 stock by the end of 2021, more likely at the beginning of 2022 when movie theaters are really able to capitalize on generating revenue again. But take that for what it is. I do want to put that out there as a little piece of something. One thing that I do want to address, I've had quite a few people reach out to me saying that there are YouTube channels out there that are bashing me for being a scammer. And I want to come out first and foremost and say, you guys can form your own opinions of me based on what I put out. I am very transparent. I always say it exactly how it is, how I feel about things, right? And I will always stand by that. I'm not going to change my opinion. If you think I'm a scammer and you don't appreciate the channel and you think I'm doing you wrong, I apologize for that, my friends. I would suggest that you consider unsubscribing because I'm never going to BS you guys. When a stock's looking rough, I tell you how it is. The stock looked rough. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I said, look, this looks pretty rough. We see a bounce here, so this is the first positive sign that we've actually seen here on AMC for a while. It's been rough. That's a fact. I've been telling you guys the squeeze might take some time to develop. And that's a fact. That's a factual thing. I've been telling you guys the volume is down. There's no thing that I've been telling you guys in these videos that hasn't been, from at least my understanding, true, right? I do my best to present you guys with the best possible information. I am in this play together with you guys, right? So take that for what it is. I did want to address that. It doesn't bother me in the least bit. I want to tell you guys that I'm going to be sticking around no matter what. And I'm playing this out to the very end, no matter what that means. So with that being said, let's look at the price action here today. We did see a nice little push in volume here at the beginning of the day. And what I'm interested in is this compounding effect, right? So as the stock bleeds, you see the volume start to drop because it's a sentiment thing, right? So as traders and investors begin to lose sentiment towards a stock, it pulls back on the volume. Less people are going to put their money into it, which is what we see happening right here, right? It starts to bleed. Less people are buying. More people are selling. There are retail investors that are selling. Like, I understand it. Not everybody is in the same situation. There are new people out there that think, man, why did I even get into this, right? They bought in high, they sold low, which is the typical. Only traders do that. Only traders will buy things when they are overvalued, sell them when they're undervalued. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to do that, and I'm gonna wait this out. But regardless, the same thing will happen when the stock goes up. And Financial Education, the channel I just showed you, was talking about this, and I agree with it a lot. So when a stock begins an upward momentum, right, it starts getting some bullish territory back. If this ends up playing out, right, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just as an example, the volume will start to pick up and it'll compound, right? So we see that happen right here. Picks up a little bit, picks up a little more, picks up a little more, picks up a little more, and then it starts bleeding, right? This is the peak. Volume starts dropping down. We can see the same thing that happened with Microvision, right? Microvision volume started picking up a little bit, right? We see a little bump. Starts picking up, picking up, picking up, picking up. It's a compounding effect. Here in the after hours, it was absolutely insane. The volume was going nuts, right? So take that for what it is. I do think it's very likely you see that play out here with AMC. The volume will be a big factor. We need that to step back in. That might take some time. But today was a good step in the right direction. I'm going to delete everything that I've got here on the chart just so I can get a fresh start here. But essentially what we've seen is we got a nice bounce here on the bottom of the chart, right? We see the first level of what could be, a bottom out. Now, I'm not guaranteeing you this is going to be the absolute bottom of the stock at $5.38. As you know, we did see a bounce here, right? We saw a bounce, nice little push, and then it did continue to bleed. So we could see something similar to that. What I'm going to be looking for is a wide range candle, right? A candle that covers a pretty decent amount of price zone, right? So maybe $1. A 1 hour window where we see a nice push for about $1. That to me will indicate that we've given enough separation between this level that we've escaped out of bearish territory. But the R side does have a nice bounce here. We were before sitting at about 26 and did see a high today of about 52. That's the most bullish the stock has been in quite some time. So that is good to see, right? This could be the beginning of a reversal. Take that for what it is. But we do have if we come out here and look at the 1 month chart real quick, I'm going to show you the 15 MA starting its beginning of a reversal back towards the 200 EMA. So this is bearish territory. Anytime this blue trend line is underneath the purple trend line, that to me indicates that it is in bearish territory. And if you look here, you can see that the trend is starting to reverse. We've got that line starting to come back up. And if you see this reversal, and maybe down the road you see it cross, right? You see this intersection right here where the blue trend line meets this purple trend line, which will continue downwards as the macroscopic trend here is downwards, right? That to me is going to indicate that we have seen a reversal. And that's going to attract new investors because there are investors out there that use the chart setups just like I do. And they're going to see that and they're going to be like, all right, this is back in bullish territory. I'm game, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind. I want that's what it's going to take for this to come back into bullish territory. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, right? I don't think it might happen Monday. This is going to take some time to develop. And I just want to put that out there as it is, right? But we have broken out of what appears to be a pretty harsh downward moving channel. We always look for at least 3 touch points. And if I do my best to get those right now, I will show you, right? 1 second. So we have 1, 2, 3 touch points. Wide range candle bar breaks above that. We did end up finishing the day a little below, right? But it's being respected pretty well right now as a descending level of support. So if we continue to see that line be respected as a level of support, you might see the beginning of an upward trend. So it does look like we have broken out of this overall downward selling pressure. Of course, we did have SSR in place today, so it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, right? If this is a pretty heavily shorted stock, keep that in the back of your mind, but that is what I have for the update for you today. I know this was a long video. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. Thank you for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, please drop a like. It really does help support the channel. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content like this. Lastly, I have an affiliate link in the description box down below for Webull. This is version 4 for the desktop. If you use my link, you get 2 free stocks with a $100 deposit. I receive a free stock. Great way to support the channel, and if you're not interested, my friends, that's totally fine. I just appreciate your support by taking the time to watch my videos. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching, my friends, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.